Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning for our intuitive webinar. Happy to have you all here. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and kick it off. So this morning I have Michael Franzik, that's me here to be the moderator. I'm also joined by Adam and Todd from the MSI team, and then I have Jody from EcoPrintQ with us here today. So going into a little bit about what Intuitive is. Intuitive is a visual dashboard for data analytics, giving you improved reporting and a more intuitive way to show that information. So it allows you to give reports to management who want to see just high-level things, and it can be utilized with either Papercut or DocuWare, just giving you improved visuals and a better way to show things. So I'll pass it off to Jody to kick us off into the meat of the presentation.
Thanks, Mike. So first we're going to start out looking at Papercut MF and some of the data that is already available within Papercut. Papercut has a fantastic reporting tools, capabilities on various different things. The challenge is that when we are using those reports, it can be a lengthy process, a step-by-step process to create a CSV file or a PDF that you then offline will rearrange and sort the columns and present the information in the way that you want to see it. One of the other challenges with the reporting piece is that to give access to the different reports that are available, you have to have an administrative access credentials to do anything with those reports. And so then we're kind of limited on being able to share out the different types of reports and give visibility to the various different departments on what is happening in their departments and their users. And so what we have available is the intuitive dashboards. This is a fantastic tool to give you an overview of what's going on in your environment. And some of the key things that I touched on in a little bit is the capability to instantly produce role-based dashboards with very little effort. So now we can give those other departments visibility on the activities that are taking place at those specific devices. It also allows us then to drill straight down into the data. So rather than having to go back and run another report, we can just simply start to click through the data to see the information that's relevant for us and what we're looking at. And then on a higher level, it gives us the capability to dial into who our high volume users are, what groups and departments are doing the most printing or the most scanning. And then it really just, we're going to look at how it can help you improve the efficiency of your print state and potentially identify some other areas where maybe there's overutilized, underutilized printers, devices, and the potential that there's also some workflows that are happening out there that maybe we could be more efficient at and really bring that to light so we can go and talk to the specific people that are doing these activities within our environment. And so I now am going to show you, this is the dashboard live and in living color. When we first get to the landing page, you're going to see here we've got a great overview of what is going on in our environment, from who the users are to the top printers that are being used. Also, how we're doing with our color versus black and white percentage. But with this, we can sort any one of these columns. We can click on it and sort. So we're able to quickly navigate to who our biggest users are, and we can click on any one of them, and it will bring us into more detail for that specific user. I'm just going to bounce back here real quick though. We also have additional information down here that just gives us those cumulative numbers for our overall print infrastructure for printing, copying, faxing, and scanning. Going to jump over here into the cost. And we can see here we've got R&D. So we're going to look at by departments, where is the most activity taking place and who is performing that activity. So then we can get a better understanding of what the processes are that the devices are being used for, which departments are using them the most. And then we can kind of talk about how can we improve what is happening in those various departments, whether it be working to reduce print, putting in print policies that pop up and say, hey, are you sure you want to print this in color? Or asking a user to do a job in duplex rather than single-sided. But we're going to just pick on R&D here because they've got a lot of volume and a lot of cost associated with that volume as well. So clicking into R&D, when we click on it, you'll see everything else here changes. So I don't have to go to a different report. I can just simply click on what it is that I want to see, and then the rest of the screen adjusts to that. So now I have a better picture for R&D. We can look at this here over the last 90 days. We'll get a really good quick visual on what is happening, when the peak usage is, and then a lot of this additional information down here for those additional costs. I'm going to go ahead and click on users because we've already selected R&D. That's what we're looking at for the dashboards. And if I click on users, you see it says R&D department. Once this comes up, then we're going to see the list of all of the users that have been active in the last 30 days. We're going to pick on Marvin here. He's doing a lot of printing, and so we want to better understand, what is Marvin doing? What is he printing? What types of documents? How are they being used? This is where this really gets into how can we help you identify those areas where maybe you can make some improvements. So just right here, we see it, click into it. This is really quick and easy. Clicked on Marvin, boom, right away now we can see the documents that he's been printing, when he's printing them, the number of copies and where. So there's a lot of information here for you to look at, not only the departmental usage, the individual usage, but then also those devices that are getting the most use. And with Marvin being an R&D, he's got pretty consistently using one of 3 different printers in his environment. But what we see here is that let's sort by total pages, and we can kind of see here the different documents that he is printing most commonly. What that tells us is perhaps there's an opportunity to look at what he is printing, and is he sending it to the right printers? The printer that he's sending it to, the color and the quality and the volume that's on that device, is that the right printer for Marvin to be printing to? So just some of those insights that you can gain by being able to look at and drill right down into the devices as well as the users themselves. I clicked on color. Now we were looking at grayscale just a moment ago. I clicked on color, and you can see here we've got employee contracts. So let's just click on that, and we can then see how many times he has printed that. We can also go back here. I'm just going to back up for a moment and go back to the executive summary. So just a real brief overview on the cost side of things. So from a cost perspective, we can start looking at those different departments and who is doing that printing and what printing they're doing. So we've got the right device for them in place. And perhaps we may need to look at, based on how much printing they're doing or how much scanning they're doing, what are those processes supporting when they're doing all of that printing or that scanning? Are there processes in place that they're looking at onboarding new employees? What does that look like? And is there an opportunity to improve on those workflows as they are part of the business processes that we have to do on a day-to-day basis? So now that we're looking here at user analysis, this just gives us an upfront view of trends over the last 30 days. 90 days of when the most printing is taking place. We can see we're doing good. We've got more black and white prints than we do color prints. Where are these jobs coming from? What applications? So we can see we've got a lot coming out of Acrobat or the PDF documents, and just overall visibility of the number of pages that have been printed holistically. Now, if I were wanted to share this with a different department, say we wanted to share this with the sales department, when they come in here to look at this, they're only going to see their sales data. So it really gives your different areas, your different departments, visibility to maybe we need to look at budgeting for next year, projected for budgeting, or maybe we want to go in and make sure that we're doing efficient processes. There's a lot of information here that can really help you identify and then justify changes that you may need to make within your various departments, whether it be the hardware itself or some of those processes that are happening in those various departments as well. So you can see here we're capturing the name. Papercut by default will capture the name of the document that is being printed. It will also, when we're doing scanning, if we are entering a name, if we are allowing our employees to go up to the device and choose their own name for those files, we'll be able to actually see the names of those documents as well. So Papercut is capturing that information in there, so we can have a good idea of what type of documents are being scanned, what departments are doing the most scanning. And if we drill into that, then we can start to see, okay, who is doing the most scanning. Let me resort here. And what we can learn from this is Florence is doing a lot of scanning. Well, we need to better understand. If we don't know, we need to go talk to Florence, understand what her role is. Is she a manager? Is she supporting the department? And what is she scanning? She's doing a lot of scanning. So we can go and talk to her, get a better idea of what it is that she's scanning. And then we can talk about, some of those things. Once that document is scanned in, what is she doing with it? Does she just simply put it on her C drive to store that document, and then she only has access to it? Or if she's scanning that document in and she needs to use the data that's on that document to put it into another system, perhaps it's into billing or accounting, we'll have a better understanding of what the effort is to complete that workflow, to complete that process for her. And then we can say, okay, is this the right person performing this task? And what is the document being used for? And is there an opportunity within that conversation to maybe make some improvements, to be more efficient with her time and with getting the data into other systems? So some really great information here for you to be able to go through at a high level and then drill right down into it. So if you have, perhaps you need to share this information with your CEO or your president, you can easily come in here and you can share, you can export these dashboards as well. So if you wanted to export it as a PDF to put it into your proposal, or to show the improvements that you've made, or just simply save it as a snapshot, as an image, to send that high level overview to another person within your company, you can also give them access, but you also have that capability then to any data that we create in here or that we drill down into, we can also share that information. And then when we look at these here, these columns and rows, we can also export this data. So if we have this set up in the way that we wanted to be able to export that data and use it in a different way, you can also do that right from here as well. So that's giving access to the other departments to be able to analyze and share and go through that data as well. So out of the box, these are it's plug and play. So if you're new to Papercut, you're going to have a great resource right from the beginning to help you as you move through the next couple of years, improvements that you can make. But it also provides an additional set of dashboards that really helps us look at those workflow processes. So scanning a lot of times kicks off those business workflow processes within any organization. So having visibility on the scanning that is being done, when those peaks and valleys are for the scanning, what departments are doing the most scanning, and as soon as we click on a specific department, it again gives us that information around the activities that are taking place in that department. So we can see here if there are times throughout the year where we're seeing higher activity, we can go and have a conversation and understand what is the activity that's happening that time of year. Are we staffing correctly? Is there an opportunity to maybe look at that time frame and either provide additional support for that person, or look at being prepared proactively to maybe lessen the impact of the volume that's being scanned in right away at that time? I'm just going to go ahead and click here on Philip Goodman. He's been doing a lot of scanning, so we can then go to Philip and get an understanding of what those documents are that he's scanning, where they're scanning them to, and then what they're doing with those documents. So it's really, we're not just talking about our printing and our scanning anymore. We're talking about how these devices are being used, and then how is that impacting our business? What are those workflows? What are those documents and activities that are being continuously repeated? Well, we can see here, looking at the 90-day analysis, we're going to look at overall top printed volume as well. But when we click on employee contract, you can see that has been printed a lot of times over and over by many different departments and many different users. So what we want to understand then is, obviously we need to have employee contracts, but maybe there's a better way to do it. So if I simply come over here and I want to filter, I want to understand, you know, what these forms are and how they're being used. Well, it's pretty self-evident when we're talking about employee contracts, but let's look at, can we do an online form for them to fill out? Can we just make it an easier, faster process, reduce some of that paperwork, and be more efficient with it? The other piece to this is, once these documents have been filled out, are they getting scanned into the system? Are they getting stored in a filing cabinet? So now you can say, okay, once we've got these scans, we know who's doing it, what type of documents they're doing, how are we using these documents? And that's really where that journey begins to take you with the data that Papercut can show you, visibility on those other areas. So now that we know we're doing a lot of scanning and a lot of forms, and we're also then, those forms are being ingested or manually entered into a system, this is where we can start to talk about, do we need doc management? Are those documents secure? Are those documents being utilized by other departments? So there's just a lot of visibility here that can help you improve and reduce your overall costs. And so with that, I am going to hand it off to Adam.
Great, thanks, Jody.
Yep.
So for those here who are not DocuWare users or familiar with DocuWare, DocuWare is a cloud-based document management system. At its core, it's going to use machine learning AI to capture all that important information off of your documents and make it easy for you to be able to collect information, find the things you're looking for, have full text searchability of all of your documents. We can also do workflows to really automate all of those paper-based process or those tedious processes across any any department in your organization, whether it's accounting, HR, anything like that. DocuWare makes your document a lot easier to work with, as well as automating a lot of processes for you. So currently there's a lot of information that you can get from DocuWare as far as reporting and information goes. Since DocuWare collects that metadata for all of your documents, its powerful search lets you really organize and sort and filter all of that data that you have within your documents already. And that can be exported to a CSV spreadsheet or tracked with the list functionality in DocuWare. But to better illustrate that, we'll show that live for you here as well. So within DocuWare here, I have a document tray where new things come in. I can open up a document that I have. In this case, it's an accounts payable invoice. Once I hit store on that, what DocuWare is going to do is it's going to learn your documents and be able to pull off that important information that you need. So in this case, in accounts payable, we want to know our vendors. We want to know the dollar totals. We want all of that information. As you see here on the left, DocuWare has automatically pulled that in from learning your document. So once that is stored within our digital file cabinets and it goes through any workflows it needs or anything like that, DocuWare Search allows us to really access that data that we have in there. So in this case, I can search through all my invoices. I could search for a certain vendor in this case. I could search for a date range or anything like that. But once I pull up some data in DocuWare, I'm able to take this information and filter it down again. I can get my totals for the month or things like that. DocuWare allows us to export a CSV spreadsheet of all of this information. Or export the documents themselves. We're able to just easily go through our documents, see them, collect that information. DocuWare also has a list functionality, which allows us both to track where documents are in process, check statuses, check due dates, keep track of things that need renewals or things that have been in our system for multiple days unapproved. If I want to see my new invoices, I can quick pull up this real-time list that will show us where everything is at. So with that, there's a lot of information that we can easily get from our documents that DocuWare collects that makes it easy to export to that spreadsheet, whether it's for our own reporting for another system or send it to that. But with Intuitive, there's way more we can do with our DocuWare data. So for that, I will pass back to Jody here.
All right. So to build off of that, Intuitive has a very dynamic dashboard that we can use when we're looking at our workflows and the status of those documents within DocuWare. So some of these benefits for you are that you can look at the overall productivity from end to end. So you can have visibility of who is moving those documents through the system, who is having success. Maybe if someone is doing fewer documents or fewer processing, maybe they need some help. Maybe they need a little bit more training. It really just kind of helps you dive in and make sure that you are efficient with those processes that you have in place. Identifying, if we're looking at an accounts payable workflow, we can identify who our shippers, our partners, our suppliers, who's paying on time, who's maybe over the 30 or 90-day window. It really helps to improve, making sure that our vendors are paying on time, that we're processing things in a timely manner, consolidating multiple data sets into a single view. So we can look at it from a departmental view. We can look at it from a process view, the workflow itself, and then automate that reporting process. So like we saw with the Papercut, we can also do that same thing with DocuWare, with Intuitive for DocuWare, to share and give visibility to other departments and also down to the user level. So the reporting and requirements, not only for accounts payable, accounts receivable, human resources, when we're looking at the types of workflows that we have in DocuWare, it then can lead us to, are these being efficient? Are we successful? Do we need to tweak maybe a couple of steps in that workflow? And since you have DocuWare, then you can go in and work with your team to better understand visibility to it.
Yeah, so this is a case study on a warehouse distribution company. that went from nothing to having DocuWare with Intuitive. So this client previously faced challenges with storing and accessing their order and shipping documents, and that really impacted the quality control and their customer experience to their customers. So they also lacked a lot of visibility into their processes, making it really difficult to identify those areas for improvement. They had a manual process for filing documents, finding past order documents, and those are really time consuming and took away from doing those more strategic tasks. So they also didn't have a standardized process for generating metrics either to track those trends and do reporting. So after implementing DocuWare and Intuitive with that, they now have immediate access to their customer order information, enabling them to monitor and improve their quality control process. So with Intuitive's dashboards, they can really visualize that key performance indicators, and they can see those and identify those areas for improvement in real time and have that end-to-end process reporting. The automatic reporting also saves them time and ensures that key company leaders are always informed of changes and updates. Also, with Intuitive's advanced reporting capabilities, they can view custom reports to track specific metrics and trends and really help them make those data-driven decisions that drive business results and drive growth. Upper level management can now access those real-time updates for customer orders using their Intuitive dashboard, which also provides visibility to track performance and make those informed decisions when they're planning for the future.
Fantastic. Thank you, Adam. So let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at Intuitive for DocuWare. And you'll see it has a very similar look and feel to the dashboards that we saw in Papercut, but now we're highlighting that workflow. In this particular case, we are looking at an AP workflow process here, and immediately we have visibility into the month-by-month flow. So if we need to know our busiest months and leading up to that, and then after that, what does that look like? And maybe are there adjustments that can be made? Do we need to ramp up in certain areas to support these busier times? But we can also look at our suppliers and we can sort them by the amount of revenue that we're doing with them, or the amount of revenue that they're doing with us. And once again, we can sort, so we can quickly get to who is the biggest supplier. And here we'll see we've got stable transport. I'm just going to click on that real briefly. Comes into our system here, and now we can see the value of that as well as where it's at in our process. And so right now this invoice is on hold, and that tells me as a manager, you know, I need to find out why is this on hold. It is a very large amount, and reach out. Now I can talk to Ava and get a better understanding of what's going on with that document. But also, as you just saw here, it directly ties into DocuWare. So we're not only seeing the data, the workflow, the who and the where, we can also click on those invoices and have visibility of that. And I apologize, this is just a still shot. I don't have DocuWare on my computer here, but you get the idea. It opens it up directly, so now you can see what is on that document, perhaps if there's some notes or additional information as to why it is currently on hold. And then you can reach out and go through next steps. We're going to click on workflow. So we've got these workflows in place. We've got the statuses of our documents. So whether it's where it is in that process of that workflow, you can see we've got all of this information here, even some data around our aged documents in the system. How long have they been in there? How many are in there? But if we were to come up here, we can also go click on duplicates. So the reason I'm picking on duplicates is we want to see who has the duplicates, what those amounts are, and then we're going to come over here and find out why do we have duplicates in the system. If we click on status, we can sort approved without a claim, but I'm going to go down here to the duplicates, and I want to understand for future finance, it looks like we have a lot of them with the future finance as well as trade transport. So has their system changed? Did the item codes change? Is there a new person handling and managing it for that company? So now we've got that capability to follow up and have a better understanding of what's going on within our workflows. How successful are we? If things are no claim required, but they're waiting for approval, we can come in here and look at who those companies are that we have, and if they're waiting to be posted and they didn't require a claim, you know, why are they still waiting? Is it simply something in our process that maybe we can improve to move those through the system quicker? Is there a challenge with that? Just being able to have that visibility on what's happening with those documents within the system as well. So we can click on any one of those statuses and really see who our employee is that's responsible for them, what the net value is, how long they've been sitting in the system. So rather than having to go into DocuWare, as a DocuWare user, you can share these views with other people in other departments. If you have multiple locations, you can give visibility to the devices and the activities, the workflows that those different departments are responsible for, or those different locations. But really, let's look at this here. This is our 30 days. This is a different snapshot, and this is telling us our success rate of that workflow that we have in process. And also on top of that, as far as our vendors, it gives us an overview of who is paying successfully on time, who maybe is a little off. Maybe we can go and offer them you know, somewhat of a discount if they pay under 30 days. We can also reach out to them and try to understand, again, were there changes in their office, changes in their workflows? This is, you know, revenue that we have sitting out there, and we want to be sure that we have visibility of where maybe some of those stop gaps are. And then once we know that, now we can go in and say, how can we improve this? Do we need to work directly with the company? Is it the person that's responsible for this step in the process? Do they need more training? Do they need more help? Are they just inundated simply with the volume that they're handling? So really great information here. This just takes those workflow steps that are in your DocuWare workflow and applies a formula to it based on each step in the status and who is performing that, and just gives us real-time feedback so we can start to look at making some of those adjustments and reaching out to improve getting that payment or paying out on time, and maybe getting that additional discount, or just making sure that we're tracking over time with that revenue intake. So really great information here. And again, of course, you can sort based on that. And we can go down here and look at that Utopia Finance. We can see we've only had 8 invoices from them, and they're only at 12.5% success. So that's definitely something that we want to call attention to and start having some conversations with them. We're going to skip over here to the 12-month. Oh, sorry. Yep. So the 12-month, now we're looking at historical data, who has been on time, who has been lagging, and then for us over that fiscal year, you know, what does that mean for us? What is the impact on that? When is our highest periods? And then we can start to identify some of those trends, like if we're having an uptick in period 12, we can look at what those products were, who was purchasing at that time, and maybe look at projecting for next year, you know, to make sure that we have enough resources in place. Perhaps they're purchasing more and more over time. Just a lot of information there that you can start to ask questions and get a better understanding of not only your workflows, but then that tool that gives you that information to be able to reach out directly to your partner, your vendor, your customer, and have those conversations with them as well. So now I'm going to look at approval times. So as a manager or as a CEO or a CFO or just the president, I may want to just have visibility over how our team is doing. So the approval times looks at, in this particular case, because we're looking at the AP, we're looking at over time, you know, how are our users doing? Who is, you know, processing the bulk of those documents? Peter is doing a great job. He's got 180. And then we come down here and we can see maybe that starts to drop off with these different users. Are they new? Do they need to be retrained? Are they having challenges with the process? We can also look at efficiency. So perhaps Peter might be doing short, quick processing of the documents, where perhaps Edward Wood has larger, complex documents, invoices that need to be matched, and there's just additional information. So we can go and have the conversation with these end users to better understand from a performance perspective for us, you know, what are they doing and do they need more help? Edward may be taking on more complicated ones. So if there's any type of a bonus, or if we're looking at perhaps even just annual reviews for our employees, we have a better information available to us now to really get some performance. There may have been some struggles. There may have been a disconnect in the workflow. So this gives us not only visibility into what those documents are as they're moving through the workflow, but also from the perspective of how our users are doing with this workflow and processing those documents as well. So there's just a lot of information here, from the documents themselves to our vendors to our users, to really understanding how successful we are with that workflow and being able to adjust and project then. So not only are we tied into the DocuWare itself, and we can have visibility of those documents, but now we can really dig in and start to look at where maybe we need to make improvements, if we need to add additional resource through those workflows. Just really good visibility also on the management level and being able to share that out as well. So if I were a manager in my department and I wanted to look at my users, I would be able to see in here, you know, where our training efforts might need to be refocused, or maybe there needs to be a different process in place. If we know that Alexander Green works with a specific vendor, perhaps there's some challenges that we need to address with that workflow, with those documents coming in from that vendor. So really great visibility at your fingertips. You can share it so others have visibility of that workflow. And it doesn't have to match what your users are in DocuWare. If you just have 4 different people that you want to give visibility to, or 5, we can set you up with those viewer license, and this information then can be shared and they can access it. They don't necessarily have to be an active user in DocuWare to have visibility over those workflows. So I have said a lot. I'm hoping that you might have some questions that you can feel free to jump in and ask.
Yeah, thank you, Jody, for that demo. So yeah, we do have a couple questions coming in. The first question I have is actually for Adam in relationship to DocuWare. So the question is, do you have to have a workflow within DocuWare in order to use Intuitive?
Nope, you do not have to have a workflow. Intuitive can pull that information and visualize just the documents and information that you're storing.
Perfect, thank you. And then Jody, I actually have a question for you about DocuWare and Intuitive. The question is that they utilize DocuWare for some different information other than just AP. Can Intuitive be customized to show different instances within DocuWare, different information? How does that look?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So in our example today, we were looking at the AP workflow, but any workflow that you have in DocuWare, Intuitive can pull that data from DocuWare and give you visibility to that process or that status. It doesn't really matter what the workflow is. We're just going to point Intuitive to the data behind that and give you full visibility in those dashboards. So we can accommodate whatever the information is that you want to highlight or prioritize in those dashboards in any of your workflows.
Awesome. And then just to follow up to that customization is, can you customize the branding within Intuitive to show your own company? So for example, if MSI used this, could we put our logo within there?
Absolutely, yes. So not only is the data that you want to see presented front and center, you can also see it with your business colors, business branding, logos, all of that. It's very easy to be able to accommodate those customizations like that. It's pretty standard.
Perfect. Give just a couple more seconds to see if any other questions come in. Jody, I got one more for you. What industries do you see getting the biggest advantage out of Intuitive, or do you see a trend of one industry gravitating towards this more than another?
You know, it's really overall, and I say that it's not industry specific. There are so many different organizations using it, and the reason being is because these are business processes that are happening. They're the livelihood of the organization, and so it doesn't matter if it's a small organization or a very large enterprise. The visibility of how successful they are with their various different workflows. Like I said, a lot of times that's a business line process that is essential and critical to those organizations. So from a very small all the way up to enterprise, I've seen it across the board be successful in providing that data for those organizations.
Awesome, thank you, Jody. All right, well, if anyone has any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. Otherwise, reach out to your sales rep or email DocuWareDAC@metrosales.com to schedule a meeting with us to learn more about this or see another demonstration of Intuitive for yourself. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure having everyone here today, and thank you for joining our webinar, and thank you for all the hosts.
Thank you.